Welcome to episode 120 of Sales Team Rescue. Today, we are going to cover what may be the number one strategy for ensuring that you are as clear-minded and laser-focused on the challenges that you're facing. So stick with me. We'll see you in the episode. Hit the music. I'm Sales Team Turnaround Specialist Jeremy DeMerchant, and each week I bring sales leaders like you, experts and insights that will help you level up your leadership, motivate like a master, and ultimately crush your comp plan. If it's time to raise the bar on your team's performance, then it's time for Sales Team Rescue. Welcome back to Sales Team Rescue. This is episode number 120. I'm your host, Jeremy DeMerchant, and today we are going to be talking about journaling for sales growth. Now, maybe you're thinking, Jeremy, I've heard about journaling, and maybe something you do, maybe something you don't. Maybe you're thinking, Jeremy, what does journaling have to do with sales? And over the last week or so, I've had some conversations with myself and with others where we talk about dealing with overwhelm. And in my experience, and what I've heard from others, is the most common time when you get to be overwhelmed, you feel this overwhelm, is when there's so many things going on and you're in a state of get it done, get it done, get it done, action, action, action. And you don't give yourself time to step back and process. Now, I've been guilty of this. There's times when there's just so much to do. In fact, today, as an example, I was speaking to my wife and I said, great, I'm going to shoot an episode of the show. I've got one more client call. And then finally, I'll get to my to-do list. Think about that. Now, I'm recording this. I'm not sure what time it goes live, but I'm recording this at 4:30 p.m. I've got a 5 o'clock sales call. And then, so that'll be over around 5:30 probably. And then I'm going to get to my to-do list for the day because when I record these on Wednesdays, it's just a day full of meetings. So I want to challenge you to give yourself permission to step back. We get in this spot where when we're in it, it's kind of like we're on the hamster wheel. And as long as we've got clear direction on what we're doing, we can make good progress. But what I've learned is that if you just end up living on that hamster wheel, you don't give yourself a chance to get off and step out. It's kind of like you can't see the forest for the trees. You're stuck in it. And every time this has happened, and it's happened a lot over my lifetime, getting overwhelmed, whether it's client work, getting sales, or I'm not getting to where I need to be. And when that happens, I just need to give myself space. And very recently, because theoretically, we should be doing this daily, whether it's in the morning or at night. If it's at night, it basically allows you to clear your head. Well, if in the morning it does as well. Lets you clear your head of any ideas, things you need to work out. These challenges that you're facing, you get a chance to kind of use yourself as a sounding board or the pages on a journal to be able to make sure you're looking at everything in the most effective way. So I'll give you a real life example. Just last night, I went out and sat on my back deck. My baby was sleeping and my wife was out of the house. And I just went outside and sat on the deck and grabbed a journal and I just started writing. And it just let me dump all these thoughts that were in my head. Some of it was client-based. Some of it was goals for my company. Some of it was staffing things and other business opportunities that I was evaluating. There was just so much. And it let me just get all of this out in paper, in ink, in the journal. And what I found is that as soon as by the time I get done writing, and it was probably 3 pages. Now, it wasn't, tiny print or anything. This isn't a volume game. But I'd written probably 3 pages and suddenly my brain went, oh, that's what you need to do. That's how you should be looking at things. That's going to give you the best progress as quickly as possible. And I realized that I was looking at something that was very important from a completely wrong perspective. And so this allowed me to process it and use my pages as a sounding board to get really clear. And I was able to face that one challenge today with a whole new rejuvenated energy. Because now it didn't feel heavy. I had a clear path. And so if you have ever, and I'm sure you have, but if you've ever been to the point where you feel a little bit overwhelmed, and maybe it's because you've been on that hamster wheel just doing the work, and the work is important. Let me be clear. The work is vitally important. You can't just sit back and develop strategy without implementing, because then nothing gets done. But if you just sit there and implement and implement and implement and don't take the time and give yourself the space to analyze the strategy to see if it's on point, then you're often going to be just continually doing maybe not the most efficient or effective thing. So let's go back to the journaling. There's a few options I want to mention. Last night and in the past, I've used just a paper journal. There's something nice about the ink going onto the page, and it allows you to write. It doesn't even have to be legible, right? You're not writing this for anyone else to read. This is a way for you to get it out of your head and to feel like you've had a chance to analyze the thoughts that are going through your head. Now, there's a few apps. I have not fully tested any app. I'm just going to mention a couple that I've tried and played with. And last night I found one. It's called Diarly. It's one that syncs if you're an Apple user. Syncs with your iPad, iPhone, your Mac. And what I like about that is that I can use the handwriting tool on my iPad, so I can use it like a paper journal. But if I ever wanted to go back, I could. It also lets you do voice recordings. So I can, be like Captain Picard, star date, whatever, and give my update. That doesn't, I'm not sure that would necessarily give me the same clarity as writing it out does. But maybe. Depends on your style, right? So there's that app. I know, I think it's called Day One or One Day, is an app that's very popular as well for journaling. I would encourage you to just find something that works for you. Whatever allows you to just let the thoughts flow. You're not writing for anyone else, you're writing for you. If you want it to be a physical pen and paper, by all means. If you want to have an app on your phone, if you can type fast, great. If you want to do a voice to text thing, do it. But whatever helps you get the flow down. Because no matter how good you are at sales, there has to be times when you look back and reflect on what the results have been, how effective your process is. Because if you don't, then you're always just going to be doing the same thing, right? And if you've got leads provided for you and nothing ever changes, maybe that's okay. But then there's probably other things in your life that you're trying to solve problems for that you're not giving yourself the space. So the reason why I say journaling is so important is for two reasons. One is you have that page to let your ideas out, but two, it forces you to give yourself the space to step out of the daily grind. Okay, I hope that makes sense. You can't analyze it when you're in the middle of it. This is why everybody can give you better advice than what you give yourself in a situation, because they're coming from the outside and giving the advice. Okay? So I encourage you, whether it's for sales or not, but the reason I say this is it's vitally important for sales professionals. It's vitally important for sales leaders, VPs of sales, CEOs, everybody. You need to get, because here's the thing, your brain is a huge asset. And just because you're amazing on sales calls, just because you can go close a pile of sales and you can do phenomenally well at that, or because you can run a great sales team, doesn't mean you're not going to run up against a challenge that you don't need to do some reflection on. Or it doesn't mean you're not going to hit a challenge that you do need to do reflection on. Sorry, we'll pretend that I understand grammar. So take that time. Now, I've been told to do it daily. I don't do it daily, not because I'm resisting it. I'm just not great at that habit yet. But I will tell you, every time I start to get overwhelmed, every time I find that things are really challenging and harder to analyze, if I can make time to just write it down in a journal, in an app, whatever, like the Apple Notes app, you've got Microsoft OneNote can be a good app, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Figure out what works for you and go nuts. And you can write for hours if you want. But there's something about being in that space where there's nothing else to bother you, and you can have your thinking be, I don't want to say linear because that's not the right word in this case, but be totally focused on the challenges you're trying to solve. You're not in front of a big computer screen where browsers are popping up and notifications are coming in and sales calls are happening. You need to give yourself that space. So, my recommendation to you, if you do not journal daily, that's okay. But if you find that you get overwhelmed or you're having challenges overcoming a few, or coming up with solutions for some problems or challenges in your life, give yourself that space to journal. If you can do it daily, great. I bet you're going to be more clear-headed every single day, and you're just going to see an increase in production or at least effectiveness. But even if it's not daily, when you're starting to get overwhelmed, people go through things, challenging times. We're looking at a world that's different than it definitely was 2 years ago. There's so many things, right? And everybody has their own stuff they're going through. So if you're going through stuff like most of us are, give yourself permission to just write it down, just for yourself, not for anybody else, but it allows you to get it out, process it, and more effectively choose a plan of action to move forward and take care of it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This is not a topic I normally would talk about, but I think that being clear-minded, and having clarity of strategy and the path of moving forward is so vital for your success. So again, whether you're a sales rep, looking back and analyzing if what you're doing on a day-to-day basis is actually working, or you're a sales leader trying to figure out how to overcome that one challenge with something with your sales team. Maybe it's overall strategy. Maybe it's dealing with one particular rep. Maybe it's how to go to that next level. What new strategy in your lead generation can you implement? Whatever it may be. Give yourself the space to figure it out. Okay, it's so vital. So that's my key point for today, guys. I don't want to, I don't want to hit this nail on the head over and over and over again, but I think it's just really key. So give yourself that permission, give yourself the space, go find some way to journal, to get the thoughts out of your head in a safe space at a time when you're not distracted, and you will be surprised with what your mind can come up with. Okay, guys, so that's it for today. I'm Jeremy DeMerchant, the sales strategist. This is episode 120 of Sales Team Rescue. Remember, if you want to catch replays of this episode or previous episodes, or book a call with yours truly to talk about growing your sales team, you can find all those resources at salesteamrescue.com, and we will see you right here next week. Cheers. Thanks for joining me. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more episodes and a link to join our online community over at salesteamrescue.com. If you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe and give the show a review to help us reach more sales leaders like you. If you'd like our support in creating your own high-performance sales team, book a call with us at salesteamrescue.com.